This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter, and this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. You can also, if you're in Indianapolis, go to Shocktober in Irvington on October 12th. Please, dear God, come to Shocktober in Irvington. That's October 12th, 2018 at the Playground Production Studios in Irvington. You can find more information as well as a link to buy tickets at ShocktoberInIrvington.com. Shocktober in Irvington is a one-night event screening of short horror films from local filmmakers, and we host Q&As with the filmmakers after each screening. We raffle off prizes and gift cards to Irvington businesses. All the proceeds go to benefit the Irvington Historical Society. It's our 5th year doing it, and it's always a blast. So go to ShocktoberInIrvington.com for more details and for a link to buy tickets. And finally, as always, this episode is sponsored by Horror Movie Yearbook and the Midwest Podcast Network. You can find Horror Movie Yearbook at HM Yearbook on Twitter and at horrormovieyearbook.com. They're a great podcast that discusses horror movies, judging from the year of release and contextualizing them with the pop culture and current events of the year of release. So once again, find them at HM Yearbook on Twitter and at horrormovieyearbook.com. And yes, so today on the podcast, I have Mr. Robert Fekkes.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
It is going well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Was worried because you just had to sit there awkwardly as I go through my whole spiel, as you always do. But yeah,
it's like listening to the podcast.
It is. It is. It's like listening to a live version of the podcast, which everyone can do at Shocktober in Irvington.
Boom.
Yes.
And I've been a few times. It is actually really fun.
Yes, I'm super excited for it. And thank you.
They're alcohol this year.
I forgot to mention that we are going to have a cash bar courtesy of our friends over at Geeking in Indiana. Yeah, so, and also give them some love. Follow Tony at Indiana Geeking. He's a great guy, and they do great stuff over there. So, yeah, and we have some really cool prizes. Like, I have a box are those the prizes? So far, yes. So I've got, 5 or 6 pop figures.
A lot of Tickle Me Elmos in there.
Yeah, well, sure. Yeah, you gotta appeal to the kids that are gonna be scarred for life. I've got a bunch of Funko Pops. I'm actually gonna rattle them off and tell you guys what we'll be raffling off. We've got the Demogorgon from Stranger Things Funko Pop. We've got Norman Bates from Psycho. We've got Pennywise from It with the spider legs, which is super cool. We also have got Eddie Kaspbrak from It, and finally Jack Torrance from The Shining. Those are the Funko Pops. We also have 2 copies of the paperback edition of Stephen King's Night Shift, which is his first published collection of short stories, of which one of them is The Man Who Loved Flowers, which we should hopefully be screening an adaptation of The Man Who Loved Flowers, courtesy of Cameron Grimm and 5 After 5 Productions. So that's going to be super exciting. And then also we have a Blu-ray copy of The Shining, because it's The Shining. And also, this is super exciting and cool. If you are familiar with last year or the year before's Shocktober in Irvington, we kind of closed those 2 years out with a screening of a short film from The Witching Season, which is a group of people in, I think, Utah who they create, a horror anthology that is currently, you can find The Witching Season on Amazon Prime Video, and they're currently in the process of filming their first feature-length movie, which is amazing. But we will be giving away an autographed Blu-ray of the Witching Season, which is a collection of the, I think, 6 short films from them. So that's going to be exciting. We're going to have more prizes to announce in the coming weeks. But yeah, so I'm super excited for everyone to go to Shocktober in Irvington. So yeah. I do get emails every time someone buys tickets.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Kind of notice that,
you're on.
Doesn't say
I can't get
Robert
the night
Fekkes.
off.
Oh, seriously? You're not going to make it? Oh, that sucks.
I know.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. I guess protecting the streets of a certain town in a certain state takes precedence over.
I suppose.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Stupid, really.
Yeah. Jeez.
I'm gonna quit my job.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should, really.
I was kind of close.
Yeah.
So.
Jeez. Then you can finally get, like, in addition to your arm tattoos, you can get face tattoos.
Yes, finally. Like that one guy that has 69 on his face. That seems really awesome.
Well, that's a weird way to talk about me in the when I'm in the room.
Well, it's just, I feel like it needs to be brought out in the open now. You just never talk about it.
Yeah, well, it's an audio podcast. No one knows that.
Good point.
But no, did someone really have a 69?
Yeah, he's a rapper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know much about him. It's just, he just looks like a hillbilly skittle.
Okay. Nice. I was gonna say, I don't, not a big fan of rap music. Not that they're, it's just not my type of music, but like is his name 69 Cent?
I think his name is actually 69 though. I'm Googling him right now. Googling 69. Yeah. Well, okay, it's 69 Tekashi 69. And let me just pull up a picture of this delightful gentleman.
Oh.
Hillbilly Skittle, am I right?
Yeah. Honestly, when you said Hillbilly Skittle, honestly, I laughed along with it, but I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? Skittle?
But that makes sense.
Now I understand.
Yes, that makes sense.
I was not expecting that.
No, nor would anyone that would meet a person.
Wow. Well, I guess if it works for him, that's more power to him.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna get
good for him.
OV tattooed on my head.
That's a good idea. Right. Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Get some extensions.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Be a good look for you, Matt.
No, thank you. I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. But anyway, I feel like there should be news that we can go over and everything. By the way, today on the podcast, it's actually a special episode. So, we are going to be reviewing Vanilla Sky from 2001, I believe. Yes, with Tom Cruise, directed by Cameron Crowe. And the reason is because one of our Patreon subscribers, Robert Garter from Utah, actually, he suggested it. So, and it's I say Patreon subscriber, but he's actually briefly stopped his Patreon patronage, which I was kind of relieved in a weird way, which is a weird thing to say because to say I'm relieved
I was tired of this man being generous.
Yes, I was relieved when someone stopped giving me money.
Yeah.
But the reason is because he actually had the reward tier that had he gets to pick a bonus review for me to do on Anthology.
So you gotta pay up.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm calling this a Patreon supporter episode, even though technically he's not. He just DM'd me and was like, "Hey, I hope you guys review Vanilla Sky." So I was kind of relieved when I saw that he had canceled the Patreon because I'm so far behind on the Anthology, and I felt so bad that he's paying me money for stuff that I'm not delivering yet. So
was Vanilla Sky going to be on Anthology then?
No, maybe eventually, I think, but we didn't have any firm plans on it. He didn't suggest it as a Patreon one for Anthology. He just kind of DM'd me about a week ago and just said "Oh hey, I just watched Vanilla Sky again." And he and I have talked a little bit about Vanilla Sky. And so he just really wanted me to see it, and he was actually like, "How much do I have to donate for?" I don't know if I should say this, but
yeah.
He was like, how much would I be able to donate to get you guys to review Vanilla Sky? And I'm like, man,
$1 million.
This one is pro bono because I am so far behind.
Because I owe you.
Yeah.
He could probably take it to court on that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Your Honor,
it is.
He owes me a podcast.
Yeah,
I mean, I would,
but go to patreon.com. I mean, if you're not gonna go to Sharktober in Irvington, just saying. And that goes for everyone else. If you're not going to go to Shocktober Irvington, go to Patreon. But yeah, so that's why we're reviewing Vanilla Sky. I'm super excited because this is a movie that I watched when I was in high school, but I didn't remember hardly any of it.
This was the first time for me.
Nice.
So
nice. And we will get to that, but I know that there's got to be some news.
Oh, there's news.
Oh, okay.
A few days ago, did you see Disney and Marvel announced that as of right now, they're halting production on Guardians 3.
I did see that. And that's after they had a meeting with like the head of Disney or something with James Gunn. Yeah. Like that was just basically saying like, he's not getting rehired. Like it's official.
Right.
He's not coming back.
I didn't expect them to backtrack on that decision. Mm-hmm. I fully expect them and still expect them to utilize his script. Mm-hmm. But it's just, I can't believe that they've halted production.
Me too.
Now I know we're talking like early stages production, but still, and no time frame.
I think that they were in deep pre-production, like they were almost prepared to start shooting, start production soon. So I think what I kind of assume, and again, this is just complete, like I have no...
You have no inside track on Marvel.
Yeah. Well, my assumption is that they may be, by putting it on hold, they're either going to... I don't know if they'd scrap it.
God, that would be such a big mistake.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not even just... Yes, horrible, because that is now a beloved franchise within the Marvel Universe, but just a financial mistake on their part.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's guaranteed cash right there for them. I mean, it doesn't matter if they go out and they get, I don't know, fucking Brian De Palma.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
People are going to go see Guardians 3.
Yeah.
Even without James Gunn. Now, I am extremely sad that James Gunn will not be directing. Mm-hmm. I'm very on the fence about Disney's decision on that.
Really? I'm pretty firmly
I know.
against
I listen
it.
to your guys' podcast, and I think that you guys make a lot of good points.
Okay.
It's in this climate right now. I can't. My whole thing is, if those tweets and those words had come out of somebody else's mouth, I think that certain people would not get the same amount of what's the word I'm looking for? Support as James Gunn did.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
So
if Roseanne Barr,
there's a number of people that are on the other side of politics that had those words coming out of their mouth. I don't see people being equally as supportive.
Right.
And so because of that, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
Disney has to be somewhat kind of in the middle on this.
Sure.
So I can see where they're coming from. Now, I don't like it. I think if gun to my head, I would say it's not a fireable offense. I don't think that he should have been fired for it.
James gun to your head.
I like that. That's good. But that doesn't mean I don't get where Disney's coming from.
Yeah, and it is a tricky thing there, and I totally see your point that it is could be somewhat of a double standard that, if someone from the other side of the aisle, the more fucked up side, if they were to
let's keep politics out of the podcast.
Okay, yes. The totally sane side of it, that's totally clear. Anyway, if they said something similar and then the people
on the left would be calling for the head if someone on the right had made these same types of jokes.
Right. However, I think that the kind of delineation here is that, or the thing to kind of keep in mind is that he made the jokes well before he was hired by Disney, and also those tweets were dug up specifically from.
I understand.
Alt-right.
I understand that entirely, but they have been dug up.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think this is an equal comparison, but Kevin Spacey's thing took place 30 years ago.
That's true.
But it's not an equal comparison because it's sexual assault. Okay. Yeah. I'm just saying that was brought up 30 years later. Now, don't get me wrong. Those accusations I have no problem believing, and I don't have any problem with what has happened to Kevin Spacey's career, because sexual assault is unforgivable.
Right, exactly.
But I'm just using it as kind of a loose parallel.
Sure. Kind of a more closer parallel to draw would be when Trevor Noah was announced as the replacement for The Daily Show. Yeah. He had some slightly anti-Semitic jokes, I think.
I think they were about actually Native Africans.
Okay.
Looks of Native Africans or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. But yes, that's a good parallel as well.
Yeah. It's but I mean, case by case basis, it's something that it's a touchy thing. Like I just think it's a bummer.
It is a bummer, but you don't joke about child molestation.
And that's true. That is very true. And kind of the big thing is that he the tweets for Trevor Noah was that he was accused of being an anti-Semite and sexist over the tweet. So but yeah, it's and this is something this is going to be a ridiculous comparison, not at all like the same, but like I get it. Like, sure, it is kind of a pun. Like, anything you put out in the internet is written in ink. It's like you can't erase it. It's not. Well,
and I think it'll come up. That's the lesson that needs to be taken away from any of this. Is nothing disappears.
Mm-hmm. Like so I've been re-listening to Tower Junkies, as I mentioned in a previous episode, just to kind of get back into the Tower Junkies groove of things since we brought it back. And I kind of had a weird thought, like, in like 5-10 years, say like in some alternate universe where like I decide to pursue a career in LA writing, I would never be able to adapt The Dark Tower
right,
because of how much I trashed the movie. And that would be before I became genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like that's something that I was kind of just it made me more conscious of that. And it's not that I don't know. I mean, I'm mentally trying to think if there's anything in the podcast that I can't my employer.
I can't imagine that anyone has ever said anything in any of your podcasts or someone be like, that motherfucker cannot run for city council. There's times with our friends where we make some dark humor jokes.
Yes.
And that happens. It's between friends. Yeah. But I'm not putting it in the public airways. And that's what people need to realize out of these situations, that when you put it on Facebook, when you put it on Twitter, Snapchat, nothing disappears. Everything's out in the public and it can be brought up.
That's absolutely true. And that, like you said, that is the lesson to learn from it. It sucks about James Gunn. And I still think like, okay, maybe they should have, just addressed it a different way or done something different. But I understand the rationale of it.
Disney is a family-oriented company.
Yes, but Walt Disney.
Well, first of all, not saying Walt Disney was the same, but a lot of the fun rumors everyone talks about Walt Disney are hyperbolic and or myth.
Sure,
like the whole anti-Semitic Nazi sympathizer. There's not a whole lot of truth to that.
I did some light Googling, so obviously it's,
so obviously you're
Wikipedia-esque. So citation needed, but like, I mean, there's some, I think it didn't sprout up out of nowhere. I would say that.
No.
Right. But it can be it was exaggerated, I'm sure, and
there's, there's been some fun pop culture jokes come out. Family Guy is pretty heavy on it, and it's funny.
Yeah.
But over the course of 60 some odd years, these sort of things kind of get blown up to more than what they were.
Right.
Not to say that any type of small anti-Semitic mentality is good. I'm just saying that Walt Disney wasn't marching down the middle of Berlin with a Nazi flag.
That's true. But so I agree, and it's just I don't know.
I mean, it's a shitty situation all around because James Gunn's the perfect person to be directing this film.
He is. And from what I've heard, like, apparently his script for the third one is, like, the best of the trilogy. I mean,
I'm sure it's great. You know, everything has been great so far. Mm-hmm. And my concern is, obviously, the actors involved are not happy about this decision.
Right.
They're not going to back out because everyone's contractually obligated to stay in it regardless. But are they going to be putting forth their best effort? I would hope so.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I would hope that they would, just because they would be, in fact, portraying a script written by James Gunn.
Right.
So I would think that out of respect for him that they would give their best. But
I would hope so. But also that kind of raises the question of if they do use his script or not, because it's kind of tricky because when that happened, they said that they severed their professional relationship with him. So you would think like, okay, well, he has the script completed and everything, but you would think that severing the relationship, the business relationship with him would mean that, okay, well, they're not going to use the script.
But there's been news out there that said that he would remain a part of the project in uncertain terms. So whatever that means, obviously they're sticking to, they're not allowing him to direct, but he could be a liaison with the script or something to that nature. So I honestly, I don't think that they would toss the script over this. Right. I would hope not. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just one of those things we're gonna have to wait and see, because right now it's on hold anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so kind of weird, because I know that Kevin Feige was very outspoken about the fact that Guardians 3 would be what would kick off Phase 4 officially, and it was being discussed as being the movie that will really transition the MCU into something different from what it is today. And it's just weird that just in one fell swoop, it's like, oh, okay, well, nix that, and then potentially like rework it or get someone else to helm that. Like it's going
to be a very interesting ride to see how this comes to fruition. So.
Yep. But yeah, I was going to make a point. When you said that, there are different degrees of humor that you can, I think that like those tweets in particular, that was from like 2012 or something, or even before that. So like that's a time where like social media is a lot more open and rough around the edges.
Yeah, internet in general in the last few years has gone through a really weird transition.
It really has. And now it's like everyone that has any kind of public eye or is in any kind of public spotlight, they can only they can only use social media as an extension of their brand. Like they would have to.
Right, yeah. I mean, you can't separate the two.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's funny because I just had a conversation with a friend of mine a couple days ago, just that just saying like, well, it was this morning. It was actually this morning because me and Kirsten went to a stand-up thing at the Cat Cafe in Fountain Square. Great place, by the way.
I think if there are as many cats as it sounds like, I would probably die of anaphylactic shock.
It would be so worth it.
Good. Yeah, that'd be a great way to die.
Yeah. But, quick shout out to Nine Lives Cat Cafe. You basically go, it's in Fountain Square, you pay like $5 and you get to play in the cat room, which has a ton of cats that are all up for adoption, toys and cat trees and stuff. You get to pet them and everything.
That does sound like a really neat concept.
It's so cool.
If you're not allergic to cats.
Yeah. And there was one cat that looked exactly like pizza. And it was like, that was my favorite.
Maybe it was a Ferris Bueller thing where it was pizza and she had to race home to get here before you did.
Oh my God.
And there's like a lot of slow motion jumps and running through yards, and
I want to make that film.
No one else wants you to.
But anyway, Nine Lives Cat Cafe, on the last Wednesday of every month, they do a stand-up comedy showcase thing with a bunch of local stand-up comics that they call it Who's Laughing Meow. So I went to that last night, and it was super fun. It was super funny, really great. And then the next morning I was talking to a coworker of mine about it, and like she had mentioned that, I can never do stand up because I'd be terrified, and like what if people don't don't think I'm funny. And then it's like, well, okay, yeah, I was thinking about that too, because like the thought of doing stand up is terrifying because of that exact reason. Like, what if what if you're starting a bit and then they don't, like, the audience isn't on your wavelength?
Right, yeah. Like, certain bits have to be in tune with certain senses of humor.
Exactly.
And if you're not digging that sort of thing, then you're going to tell a 2.5 minute bit. That's a lot of silence for 2.5 minutes.
And 2.5 minutes is a lot of seconds.
Yeah.
But, and that kind of led me to think, like, it's interesting just viewing, like, comedy and, like, your own comedic sensibilities. Like, of the people in my life, like with you, I can make a joke to you that I wouldn't necessarily make the same kind of joke or same joke to like Kirsten or to like a coworker.
With, our group of friends, there's a lot of jokes that we make with each other that you just couldn't make with other company. And that's just because that's our sense of humor.
Exactly.
It doesn't make us bad people. It doesn't make us sexist or anything like that.
Right.
It's just stupid idiots being stupid idiots and we have fun with it.
Yeah. But if you put it on the internet, it's there forever. And then, that can come.
And then you get taken off of the directorial process of Guardians 3.
Yep. But, I mean, it's not like James Gunn isn't going to land on his feet.
No, he will. It's just, you get the sense that it's a passion project for him. So
absolutely.
You just yanked his passion project.
Yeah. It would be kind of funny if he goes to like DC or something and makes like an original property and calls it like Protectors of
the Universe,
an interstellar body. By the way, did you bring your Blu-ray for Interstellar?
God,
you forgot it.
Damn it.
That's fine. I guess I'll never give that movie another shot. But anyway, so that's a shitty piece of news that sucks for fans of the MCU, but I think that they'll be okay too. Speaking of the MCU, well, actually, I want to talk about this real quick because, I mentioned it in the last episode, that I will have released that hasn't been released yet as of this recording, but, Rotten Tomatoes, did you hear about them changing some stuff around?
No.
Or like, for the first time in like 20 years or something, they're opening their criteria for, reviews to, that would like be counted toward the tomatometer. Yeah, and I mentioned this, so I'll just briefly run it down for you real quick. Part of what they're going to open it to is podcast reviews of movies.
Shut up.
Yeah. There's a certain criteria, and once again, listeners, really need your help on this. The criteria, like, we fit all of the criteria except for one thing. So, like, you have to have
fan
podcast, base. Sort of. You have to have podcasts for, I think a minimum of 2 years, be consistent on average, like 4 episodes a month, which, we take a couple hiatus here and there, but, and then a couple other things I can't remember that we qualify for, but the one is that you have to have a minimum of 200 ratings on iTunes. So we are at 41 ratings.
Oh, we got to quote Matthew McConaughey from The Wolf of Wall Street, those are rookie numbers. We need to pump those numbers up.
We do, yes. So if you have an iTunes account, or you have family members with iTunes accounts, or you go to the Apple Store,
or you find an open computer in a library with iTunes open.
Yes. Just click 5-star rating. Like, that's all you have to do. You don't have to write a review or anything. Just click the rating. And then once we get up to 200, I'll submit for Rotten Tomatoes. And then,
we're going to make this happen, guys.
Yes.
Post it to your social media accounts, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Let's get this ball rolling.
Yes.
We want to impact the tomometer.
Tomometer, yes.
Okay.
You say tomometer, I say
the tomato.
Yeah. See, this is why we need to be on Rotten Tomatoes.
Because of classic humor like this.
Exactly. But yeah, so anyway, that's interesting. I don't know. Do you pay close attention to tomato scores?
Yeah, I do. Well, I don't usually use it as a method of deciding whether or not I'll see a movie.
Sure.
But I'm always curious to see what the tomato score is once I see a movie or before I see it. Mm-hmm. There's a few times where I do use it. Like I had half a mind to go see Slender Man, and then I saw the Rotten Tomato, and I was like, That's just too low. Yeah. I'm not going to waste one of my AMCs on this one. Yep. So yeah, I skipped out on so I do use it in that sense occasionally, but
sure.
For the most part, I just kind of use it to gauge like, well, what did everyone else think?
Right.
But yeah, I'm on the site pretty frequently.
Nice. And see what I don't really use Rotten Tomatoes that much. I probably should, if only just to find like professional reviews of movies and read them.
Right.
I wouldn't take any stock in the actual like fresh or not, whatever.
Well, it kills me when people bitch about Rotten Tomatoes like they're biased. I'm like, you guys don't understand what it is then.
Right, exactly.
It is a compilation of reviews. They're not reviewing the goddamn movie.
Joe Rotten Tomatoes, right. Cranking out these reviews. Studios are paying him money to give him good reviews on movies.
It's like you want to go back to that old meme. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
Not how any of this works. Because since I've been using Letterboxd a lot recently and like actually writing out reviews, I kind of want to read more like actual professional reviews to kind of, hone my craft a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because I used to write a lot for the website when it was a blog and podcast, but now it's just a podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say it.
Yeah.
Can't remember the last time you actually posted anything to the blog.
Oh, it's been over 2 years. Over 2 years, which I'm fine with. So like my kind of consolation prize? No, I don't know, the whatever is that like now it's like, okay, now I have Letterboxd to scratch that itch. Because like if I were to write a review for the actual website, it's like I have to just actually write it out, save it to like actually like upload it and like put together links and
yeah, it's much more streamlined this way.
Exactly. This I can just crank out a review while I'm on the can at work and then
good.
Not think anything less of it. Speaking of Letterboxd, though, I pitched it to you earlier.
You did. It probably fell on deaf ears.
So, I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. Well, hey, it's okay. Just check it out if you want.
All right. Cool. One more piece of news item, though.
Yes.
And I feel like you might be a little conflicted on this one.
Okay.
But I feel like it might bring some fandoms together. They announced today that they have cast a Time Lord in Star Wars Episode 9.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. So, that happened. Matt Smith has been cast in a quote-unquote key role in Star Wars Episode 9. And also Dominic Monaghan was also cast in an undisclosed role.
I like him, but that's I'm kind of like ambivalent to that.
Right? Yeah. But like that's literally the extent of the information that's out there.
Right. But you're gonna get a doctor in the Star Wars franchise.
That's true.
So
that is true. And that is cool. That's fine.
Bringing fandoms together.
Yeah. Do you have any theories about the kind of character he's going to play?
I know nothing about Doctor Who, so I would have zero theories.
I mean, it's not like he's going to be playing the Doctor.
Maybe he will, that.
By that rationale, he could be playing Skynet from Terminator Genesis.
Worst movie ever.
Yeah.
Not Terminator Genesis. It wasn't a great movie. I'm just implying that if that's the route that Star Wars was going to go, that would be the worst movie ever.
Yeah, that's what would ruin the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, right. No, I don't know. They've done such a good job of just bringing new characters into the franchise. Who knows what he's going to be?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I think he has the facial features and demeanor of just a first order someone.
Maybe.
But
maybe
we'll see. Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we're not one to worry ourselves with conjecture. We just criticize and fret over the runtime of a movie when it's announced after it doesn't have a trailer for months before, like months after it's even supposed to come out. Anyway,
check
out towerjunkiespod.com. But so a couple things before we get into our actual review. I have a standing order within myself to see 2001: A Space Odyssey whenever I have the opportunity to in a theater. So
I think after our experience, I think that's going to have to be as well for me.
Yes.
Because
Yeah. So how? Because I talked about it with Mike a couple days ago or a week ago on the podcast. Whenever I post it, but what was your perspective on that experience? How did you feel about that? Was your first time seeing it in the theater?
You know what? That was my first time seeing it in the theater, and the second time seeing it ever.
Nice.
The first time seeing it, which I still enjoyed the movie the first time I saw it, but it was a standard DVD on my TV, which it's fine, but it's just it doesn't do something like that justice. Like it's such a grand idea of a movie, and it just plays out so much better to see it on a large screen, especially IMAX.
Totally.
And the sound. Me and you talked about this shortly.
Amazing.
The sound is what makes that experience for me.
Yeah.
I mean, the in sync ballet with the space stations and the shuttles is just much more dramatic with the sound system in a movie theater than it ever would be in any home theater that I have or could afford.
Absolutely.
And so because civil servants make enough money to make home theaters rivaling
you're working
AMC.
so hard that you have to miss Shocktober. So.
But the experience just is amplified that much more, and it blew me away.
Oh yeah.
You know, the first time I saw the movie, it was like I said, the ideas are brilliant in and of itself, but it's much more impactful when you have a delivery system as grand as IMAX.
Totally.
So that really just made the whole experience for me.
Absolutely. And yeah, this was, I don't know exactly what amount of times this was for me of seeing the movie itself, because the first time I ever saw it was like on a shitty TV, regular DVD. I think it was definitely obviously well before Blu-ray even came out. And I saw it multiple times on DVD, various upgrades from of TVs and everything. I got the Blu-ray, and that was like a whole transformative experience watching it on Blu-ray.
Right.
Because it looks so good on Blu-ray. But the weird thing is going through Letterboxd, I have all of my movie watching logs in Letterboxd from since I started tracking in 2007, with the exception of 2009 being a tragic year for me because I lost my note taking that I had.
No.
Yeah. So I have a partial log of 2009 that was constructed from ticket stubs I had.
Oh my god.
And cross-referencing Tiny's movies list from 2009 and picking the ones that we watched together. So
Jesus.
Yeah, so it's a partial reconstruction.
2009, the lost years.
Right. But I believe that because for some reason when I go onto Letterboxd and I find 2001 and I go and see what all days I've watched it in Letterboxd, I only have I think 4 screenings, and those are the 4 theater screenings I've seen of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first time I saw it in the theater was 2013. It was 2013, February 2013. I think Indie Film Fest was hosting a screening of it at the IMA. And that was the first time seeing it on the big screen in the Toby Theater, which is a beautiful little theater.
I've never been in it.
It's so cool. It's very luxurious and it just has a good energy to it. But that was I think they originally had a 35 millimeter print, but it was too deteriorated, so they ended up just screening the Blu-ray.
Right.
And then the next time I saw it was in 70 millimeter a year or 2 years ago, at the State Museum IMAX in 70 millimeter, and it was amazing. It was jaw dropping.
I own it on standard Blu-ray, or not just standard DVD.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that I'll ever watch it again unless it's in the theater.
That makes sense.
So, because I just, it's not going to be the same experience.
Totally.
There's other movies movies are always going to be better in a theater experience.
Right.
But there's always going to be, big high-end movies that I can still watch at home and get a certain amount of enjoyment. But there's just something about that movie that really is amplified by the theater experience that I don't know that I want to ruin by going back and watching it on a TV.
I totally agree. It's funny. I totally agree. Because, and then also the other screenings I had was, I've seen it 4 times in the theater because I saw it twice with A-List this past weekend. And then I'll see it again not this coming Sunday, but the next Sunday. So the Sunday of the Brickyard, actually.
No.
In 70 millimeter at IMAX at the Indiana State Museum with Tiny and one of my coworkers. And that's going to be, I'm super excited for that because that's the unrestored version that Christopher Nolan and his cinematographer worked on to basically they call it the unrestored version because it's restoring it to what it was like in 1968.
Sure, yeah.
And it's like, he supervised it and everything. And the State Museum is one of only 5 theaters in the entire country that has the ability to screen 70 millimeter print film in IMAX.
I wish I would. To Brickyard.
I know, right? So, but yeah,
racing.
I think they're doing it throughout the week though, so you may want to look into that.
I can't. I'm teaching a bike school that week.
Oh, damn. Well, I mean, you could say that, the pod is kind of like a bike, so.
Yeah, I was like, all right, guys, I'll pay for all 4 of you guys.
Right.
So, yeah, no.
Jesus. But yeah, so anyway, it's an amazing experience, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it as well.
I'm glad that it ended up being a shared experience.
I know, yeah. It was so creepy because I was sitting there and like in my head, I didn't communicate this to you, but if you remember, I was sitting in like kind of the backish row.
Right.
And there was a seat to the left of me.
And then 2 people.
The seat that was empty next to me was actually the seat that I reserved, but I wanted to give a buffer seat because I didn't want to be awkward.
Well, what's with them picking the seat? Like that was an empty theater.
And the weird thing is that like if you do that at like the State Museum IMAX, because for clarification for the listeners, we were at a theater on the south side, Southern Plaza, a regular AMC theater. But like since you can reserve seats at the State Museum IMAX, they will not let you have buffer seats. Like
really?
It requires you to like fill.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But no, AMC allows that, but I'm just sitting there like what? Okay.
Like
fine.
that's literally the largest theater at that cinema. And it wasn't a packed house.
It wasn't. It was a Sunday afternoon.
So these guys legit knew where there was someone sitting there and then decided we're both going to sit next to this guy.
And to be fair, I did pick that is probably one of the most optimal seats because it is dead center. But like what I was doing, cause I was on my phone cause I was there by myself. So I was awkward and I just wanted to look at my phone. One of the things I did was I checked the app to see if anyone had the seat that I was in. It turns out that there were people that had the seats next to the right. But I was like, I'll just see if they show up. I'll just stay here or whatever. And then I get a snap and I open it and it's like, oh shit, that's me. So you had sent me a snap of me in my seats.
Well, it's funny because I was doing the same thing you were doing. I was there by myself and then just kind of looking through my phone at shit. And then I was like, oh, well, might as well check myself in. Nice. I open up Facebook and it says, Matt Hurst checked himself in. And I'm like, the fuck he has. And I'm looking around and I was like, there he is. So I was like, how should I do this? Like, I should be awkward about it.
Yeah.
So I was afraid when I turned around because I was like dead staring at him. I was afraid he was going to have that sensation of like someone's looking at me, but I was able to get the snap off.
I am not that perceptive. Yeah. But it's funny because I just assumed that you, being a police officer, was like super aware of your surroundings and like noticed like, oh, hey.
I pride myself of not being a cop when I am not being a cop. So I don't go into a theater and start scouting out everyone here.
That's fair.
Who are the shady characters? Oh, fuck, it's Matt.
Yeah. That's fair. And that is fair. When I clock out at work, I don't go home and ask people if they want me to
you want me to do your claims?
Process their life insurance changes.
Knock on your neighbor's door. Hey, do you have life insurance?
Right. Oh God. But yeah, so anyway, that was a fun experience, and I was super glad that they had the 15-minute intermission.
Yeah, I didn't even think that was going to be a thing because it's not an abnormally long movie. It's like it's a heartbeat past 2 hours.
It's 2 hours and 44 minutes. So.
Oh wait, is it that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know if that's including.
I think that's included. That's including the intermission. That has to be. But yeah,
but right. A Christopher Nolan movie, except for Dunkirk, is about that long.
Right.
Yeah. So.
I mean, it wasn't unwelcome.
No.
So it gave me a chance to make my bladder gladder. And
all right.
Yeah. So.
I haven't heard that expression.
No. Oh, you're welcome.
It gave me the opportunity to refill my drink. Do you find yourself since you have A-list, do you find yourself buying concessions more? You usually buy a drink, though.
The only thing I ever buy is a drink. I'm not a big candy eater, so I don't typically buy any that sort of thing. And anything else that they have is just not to be a health guy, but it's all carb loaded and grease filled, and I don't eat that sort of thing. So as
frequently as like you and I go to the theater, it's like if you buy like
I mean, I'd be spending $25. Yeah, but I love Diet Coke, so I get my gallon of Diet Coke, I drink it during the movie, and I refill it before I leave. So that's I don't find myself buying any more or less. I do find myself more apt to purchase a beer.
Okay.
If the bar is open because of A-list, but other than that, not really. Nice.
Interesting. But because of A-list, like,
because beer's $10, and if I got A-list, that's I'm not spending $12 on a ticket. So I'm like, fuck it, I love beer, I'll have a beer.
Nice. Nice. I may have to try that next time. Because I think I told you, and I said it on the podcast, so I apologize for the repetition, but when I saw Solo, I got like the specialty drink. Yeah. It's like fucking $15.
Yeah, and besides those specialty drinks, if you know anything about bar mixology, they're low on alcohol and high on just sugary. And I'm not saying that as a proponent of anti-sugar. I'm saying that it's just you're buying sugar water and you're paying a lot of money for it. So, but if I get a Blue Moon, it's always Blue Moon and it's delicious. Yeah. So,
well, that Solo drink is the only reason why I would have said that Solo is a heart pumping experience, or what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Heart pounding experience
because of the price tag on the drink.
Oh no, because of the sugar.
Oh yeah.
Definitely not because of the movie. But anyway,
agree to disagree.
Yeah, well,
opinions.
Yep. But yeah, so covered all that. Yeah, so I thought I had something else, but screw it.
Well, with 2001, I would just say this: the wormhole sequence is so much better lived in a theater experience than it is on TV screen. Like when I saw it for the first time on TV screen, like I get where they're going with it. But it was just kind of like, okay, all right, let's
check your phone.
Let's wrap this up. But in the theater, it's mesmerizing to a point where it's just you don't want to look away.
Totally.
And so I enjoyed that sequence infinitely more in that in that atmosphere.
Yeah, totally agree. Like it's incredible. It also made me think, and this might be a good hypothetical question, but. Like going back to what you said about like how you watch movies and like the format and everything. As I was watching that second viewing of 2001, I was thinking like, I wonder like what other movies are there that I want to see in the theater like as much as I can.
Jurassic Park for me.
Oh, nice.
I have seen that in the theater numerous times. Every time they re-release it, I'm there in the theater. Nice. Me and Cassie went to go see Jurassic Park at the Symphony when they had the orchestra playing.
That's awesome.
And that was fantastic. So Jurassic Park's just one of those movies. It's one of my favorites of all time. I still get goosebumps watching the movie, and I will anytime they're like, hey, we're releasing it for, a day and a half, I'm like, well, I'm there.
Yeah.
So Jurassic Park and any of the original trilogy Star Wars movies.
Oh, sure. I have kind of a list.
What?
Yeah. Basically,
Dark Tower. No,
well, of course. But,
question.
Oh, yes.
Say, because they would never do it.
Right.
Say they did say, hey, this week only we're going to be showing Dark Tower and, in the theater. Would you go?
I would absolutely see probably Slender Man or the Happytime murders or something else entirely. I would not, because
you bought it though.
I bought it because on Tower Junkies we were doing a commentary track on it.
Okay, fair
and
enough.
Also it is Dark Tower. I'm a consumer or whatever.
I call bullshit. I think you'd go see it.
No, I really don't. I really don't think I would.
We'll never find out because they're never going to re-release it.
But
unless there's going to be a Riff Tracks.
Oh, that would be interesting.
I would see that.
I would see a Riff Tracks live of the Dark Tower. But yeah, so although I did I just recently listened to another podcast review the Dark Tower, and they mentioned how did they phrase it? They were down on it because it's the fucking Dark Tower.
Right.
And none of them had read the books or anything. And it was the podcast was Comedy Film Nerds, and they were going on about how they were sympathetic to my plight, because they were like, it's just such a bummer because, I know that people are super big fans of this, but this is what they got. And it's just terrible. But they said this one zinger was so holy shit, this was good. Good. Well, anyway, they said, there's a scene where Jake tells Roland, or Roland asks Jake if there's guns and bullets on his world. And then Jake just looks at him and he's like, "You're going to like Earth a lot." Yeah. And then one of the guys on Comedy Film Nerds was like, "Yeah, a black guy carrying 2 guns. He's going to get shot by the police immediately."
That's funny.
Yeah, I thought that's really good.
That's funny.
And depressing, but
quit knocking the police, nerds.
But anyway, so movies I would see in the theater. Cause I've been watching movies kind of in the background while I'm working on my phone. And there are movies that I'm really eager to rewatch because 2001 kind of brought this out of me. I was like, watching this makes me really want to watch Blade Runner 2049, Alien, and some other science fiction, visually stimulating movies. And I have digital copies of all of those. And I'm like, I don't want to watch it on my phone when I'm in the middle of working and I can't
No, there's
experience.
Right. There are certain movies where I only watch under certain formats. I won't watch it on a computer or an iPad.
Right. That's fair. Yeah. But to see movies in theaters, I would see Alien, Blade Runner 2049.
God, I would love to see 2049 again.
God,
in the theater.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Back to the Future.
That's interesting.
The Shining. Watching 2001, there are specific, things that Kubrick does that's just loud, but I don't know if I'd say bombastic, but just loud music.
Right.
Just reminded me of he does some of that.
You're going to get your chance with The Shining because I'm sure that when they release the sequel to it, there's going to be some special screenings for the original.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, I've already seen The Shining once in the theater at Keystone Arts.
Keystone. Yeah. I would go see Shining in the theater. You know what? Another one that it's one of those movies that I only watch it out of appreciation for the effect it gives me, but I kind of hate watching it. Yeah. But I kind of hate watching it is The Exorcist.
Oh, interesting.
That, when I first saw that as a kid, that had a profound, horrifying, effect on me. That. And it still to this day does. Watching it, it still creeps me the fuck out.
Oh yeah.
And the occasional time that they actually re-release it in the theaters, I do go to see it because to see a movie and have that much of an effect on you is a powerful thing. And while it's not entirely that I enjoy that effect, I appreciate that it can give that effect.
Totally.
So I will go. Yeah. I'll probably go see it if they re-release it in the theater, and I'll lovingly hate it.
Right.
But I'll appreciate it at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny because kind of on a similar note, I recently bought the digital version of Hereditary on Vudu. And the second that I bought it, I was like, cause it's going to be on my top 10 list for the year.
Man,
did you ever see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked it.
Oh yeah.
But I didn't love it.
Interesting.
And I know that you and Mike, and I'm sure Mike fucking raved about it.
Right.
But I was kind of bored.
Interesting. Well, there are certain moments in it that, like, the second that I bought the digital version, I'm like, oh, I'm really excited to, revisit this and everything. And then I was like, I'm terrified to watch it again. Not necessarily because, like, oh, it's outright like, oh, God, I'm scared of this moment and everything. It's like, it's a different type of fear. It's a visceral, like, emotionally scarring experience for me because, like, I was just so in tune with, like, the grief angle and how like the characters were.
Don't get me wrong. The performances were amazing, and I get where people have such a strong reaction to it. Mm-hmm. I just thought The Witch did a better job.
That's fair, and I haven't seen The Witch since the theater, so I need to revisit.
I watched it again last year, and nice. I think it does a better job and in a much more succinct way.
Interesting.
So I just that was my opinion, and
that's fair.
So
yeah. But it's funny because like I bought Hereditary and I was all excited to watch it, and I just kind of thought about it. And I was like, I might wait a while, so I rewatched Blockers instead, which was super fun.
That's a good
and
movie.
Not emotionally scarring. So,
no, I'll revisit Hereditary, but I don't expect it to change my opinion.
That's fair.
But anyway.
Yeah. So should we review this movie?
Let's get on to the reason that we're here.
Yes. So Vanilla Sky. I'm going to read the plot summary courtesy of IMDb.
Yes.
Vanilla Sky 2001, Cameron Crowe, starring Tom Cruise, Penelope Cruz, no relation, Cameron Diaz, Kurt Russell, Jason Lee, and other people. Timothy Spall and Tilda Swinton are in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tilda Swinton's like small role.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Also, Michael Shannon.
Oh, I was gonna bring that up. Yeah. I was gonna bring that up. Yeah.
So the plot description, courtesy of IMDb, is a self-indulgent and vain publishing magnate finds his privileged life upended after a vehicular accident with a resentful lover.
I wouldn't call it an accident.
I wouldn't either. So, of course, we're going to do a non-spoiler and spoiler review for Vanilla Sky. So, Fekkes, this was your first time seeing it.
It was.
What was your knowledge of the movie beforehand? Like,
so it's funny. In college, I had a buddy that tried his hardest to get me to watch it.
Okay.
It lent me the DVD, all this stuff, and I just never got around to it. And not because I didn't believe him that it was a good movie. It just, I don't know, it wasn't on my radar.
Sure.
He didn't even tell me anything about it. So coming up to the time where I first watched it last night, I really didn't know anything about it. I knew it had something to do with Tom Cruise and relationship. And I was like, well, that's Cameron Crowe.
Right.
So I came into it with an open mind, but I really had no expectations as to what to expect.
That's a really interesting way to go into it.
It was the best way to go into this.
From the director of Jerry Maguire comes this
in Elizabethtown.
In Elizabethtown. Oh God. So that's the best way to go into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really enhanced my experience in this movie.
I was in an interesting position because I watched it. I have vague memories of watching it when I was in like freshman year of high school, so like back in like 2000, 2001.
Probably 2001 since it was released in 2001.
Yeah, so it was more likely 2002, 2003.
No,
so back like June 27th,
back in 2009,
the day after I was born, I watched this movie. But back in like 2001, 2002, I watched it, and I think that it was more like I was kind of in my like surface level movie watcher phase.
Sure, yeah.
I wanted to I loved Fight Club, so I wanted to find other movies that would be kind of mindfucky.
I'm not going to take a tangent on this. I'm just going to say my piece on this. I was very disgruntled about you and Mike talking about how Fight Club is, it's the edgy. He's like, Fight Club is still a good movie. Shut up.
And it's funny because in the episode that I recorded with Mike this week, we do talk about that, and I do mention yes, it is a good movie, but when I was a fan of it, and again, sorry for the repetition, listeners, but when I was a big fan of it, like a huge, it was my favorite movie, That was more like this movie is so edgy and cool, because
it's a different appreciation for it.
Right. Like one line in particular is like when Tyler Durden's like, the things you own end up owning you. Like when I'm like a 15 when I'm like a 15-year-old kid, it's like, oh, that's so cool and everything. It's like the height of my consumerism is saving money through the week to buy a DVD at the end of the week. Right. Like I'm not that.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Peace has been said.
Yes. So listen to the last episode for more thoughts on that. But yeah, so I had just vague memories of it. I knew that there was some kind of twist involved in the plot. I couldn't remember exactly what it was, so that was a fun experience.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then also I just knew that it had to do with Cameron Diaz being obsessed with Tom Cruise. So that was the extent of it. So it was an interesting kind of entry point for me to rewatch it for essentially the first time.
Especially with giving new perspective on life in general and a new more mature appreciation for storytelling, anyway.
Absolutely.
So,
yes. And I have a cat now, so
so
the line about seeing each other in another life
when we're cats, that's just like boom.
Yeah. It's like, that's what I want. But yeah, so overall thought, like kind of in broad terms, like what did you think of the movie? What did you think of the performances, like ideas and concepts?
Broad terms, I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this, basically because I came into it with no expectations and it turned into a movie that is right up my alley to begin with. Something where just you're kind of trying to decide, is this really what's going on? Am I misinterpreting this? Did I miss something here? So it was really, I have a habit of always being on, some sort of device or something when I'm sitting at home watching TV or watching a movie. I got about halfway through this thing. I was like, what am I doing? I threw my computer aside. I was like, I gotta really watch this here.
Honestly, that same thing happened to me. Like I rewound a couple of scenes because I just happened to like clear a notification on my phone, and I missed a piece of dialogue. I was like, no, I want to play it back and see what they said.
Now, performances wise, there wasn't a bad performance in the lot.
Okay.
Like first of all, I'm an unapologetic fan of Tom Cruise.
Right.
Personal life aside, I think he's fantastic in movies, and I think he does a great job in this as well. Cameron Diaz played the psycho obsessed girl. Perfect into a T, and Penelope Cruz couldn't have been better as the cute, adorable, easy to fall in love with character.
Totally.
So, and I will say this, Jason Lee being in it blindsided me, and it made me realize how much I just love Jason Lee.
Nice.
I miss him in films.
Me
I really
too.
do.
Me too.
I really wish he would do some more stuff, but yeah, I love him as an actor.
And especially in this role where he's playing like the best friend character.
Right.
Like that's so up his alley.
It really is. Like Jason Lee will never be a leading man, but for what he does in films, he's fantastic at.
Absolutely.
And it made me miss him all the much more. So,
yep.
And it was fun. Michael Shannon looks like a fucking infant compared to what I could not believe that was Michael Shannon
and
at
he's
first.
Playing like a tough guy CO character,
right?
Too, so it's
and he doesn't like Michael Shannon now. You would see him like, I wouldn't fuck with that CO.
Yeah.
Michael Shannon in this movie, you're just kind of like, I know that's Michael Shannon, but he does not look intimidating to me. So I thought that was a lot of fun.
Oh, totally. And I tweeted this, but the mask that Tom Cruise wore, nightmare fuel for me. Like it is so creepy.
It is super creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because I do want to touch on like Tom Cruise. I'm a fan of his too. Crazy batshit, personal life aside. Until tweets become uncovered from the past where he makes jokes, I'm not going to disown his career or anything. But I kind of felt like this. I'm watching this coming off of watching all of the Mission Impossible movies in quick succession. So I have like movie star Tom Cruise in my like short-term
action movie star.
Yeah. So seeing him in this cerebral, thriller, drama, mind-bending kind of crazy movie was a bit not surprising, but there was a little bit of disconnect with me with his performance. Like, there's
I could see that. I mean, because you just got done watching 6 movies where he is nothing but an action star taking the charge.
Yeah, he didn't scale a single like building.
He didn't, and what the heck? I mean, what the stupid movie all around. Who decided that we were going to watch this knowing that Tom Cruise did not scale a building?
He didn't fly a single helicopter. But anyway, but like there are some weird things that he does, like the club scene where he's like dancing in a weird way. I can't really put.
Are you talking about when he goes out with Penelope Cruz?
Yes.
Yeah, and he gets really drunk on the Patron shots.
Yeah. It's just, it was peculiar. It was like,
I think it was supposed to be though. Like he's going through a complete mind fuck at that point, because this is like one of the first times he's leaving the house after his accident and going in the public. He doesn't know how to act. People don't know how to act with him. He gets obliterated drunk. You've seen me obliterated drunk.
Right.
Do I make sense?
You don't, but you do. Like, you do have a surprising amount of composure to yourself. Like you compose yourself fairly well when you're drunk.
I'm also not going through a traumatic.
True. But I don't know. It just seemed kind of like, and this is maybe a cheap shot at Scientology and everything, but it kind of felt like an alien trying to act like a drunk person.
His thetan levels were off on that scene. You could just totally tell.
Exactly. But I mean, I didn't mind. Like, it was a minor nitpick. Like, it was some of it just didn't really connect with me. But overall, his performance, like, especially when it gets to its more, as he gets more confused about what's going on, like the
scenes, like I thought in particular the scenes where it's going when he's confused as to which girl he's with.
Yes.
I thought he was fantastic.
That was where he was the most compelling to me. And that was where the movie itself was the most compelling and interesting to me. I do want to mention early in the movie there's a party scene. It's for his birthday.
Yes.
Did you catch a cameo in it?
Steven Spielberg?
Yeah,
that was fucking great.
Nowhere.
Apparently it didn't. Apparently they were about to start production on Minority Report.
Oh, that makes sense.
So apparently that was just kind of like a funny thing.
Nice.
So, which I saw.
That makes sense.
And like he's wearing his Steven Spielberg hat. Right. I mean, I was like, that's great.
It was Steven Spielberg at his most Steven Spielberg.
Right. And you know what threw me at that? Steven Spielberg calls him a son of a bitch, and I'm like, does Steven Spielberg say that?
Right?
Is he say that?
Well, to be fair, he did have a little kid in E.T. call his brother Penis Breath. So
fair enough.
There's that. But and I wish I would have thought of this when I said this, but when you said Steven Spielberg, I should have been like, no, Johnny Galecki. Hey, pizza.
Hi, pizza.
I heard Steven Spielberg. Anyway, oh, kitty. So anyway, what else can we talk about in non-spoilers?
Non-spoilers? Really I know. I was going to say this is a very,
I will say
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell was,
Kurt Russell was really good, especially when you kind of get the gist later on as to what aspect of his life he's supposed to be portraying.
Yes.
It actually becomes a lot more, even more convincing and compelling. But yeah, I really enjoyed Kurt Russell, although I was distracted by Kurt Russell's sports jacket, which far too big for him.
Right.
I don't know why I was focused on that, but I'm like, that is not the right size, Kurt Russell. But yeah, Kurt Russell, I've always been a fan of his, and I thought he did a really good job in that role as well.
I need to go back and watch more of his work, because there are some pretty big Kurt Russell movies that I've never seen. But
I've never seen Big Trouble in Little China.
That was the one I was thinking of. Yeah. But Like, it was just kind of weird because what I've seen him recently, like I rewatched Tombstone. So it's like, and like when I watched Tombstone, I was like, oh yeah, Kurt Russell's great in Westerns. And like he was in, Bone Tomahawk and
I haven't seen Bone Tomahawk and I really wanted to. You know what my favorite Kurt Russell, role is Death Proof.
Oh yes. He's amazing.
He's great in that.
Yes. Oh, he's great. But anyway, I was just so in the like Kurt Russell Western mindset that I was like, oh, he's not in a Western. He's not.
Where's your mustache?
Yeah. But another thing, like I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was very interesting and like it kept me on my toes. It took a little bit to get me into it, but once, like you said, once he has those kinds of flashes that in where it's really like messing with him, that's where I got more hooked into it.
I was into it right when he gets in the car crash.
Okay.
Because like Cameron Diaz nails that character. Like especially
she really does.
And she does a great job in that car scene.
Oh yeah.
And I've always enjoyed Cameron Diaz and stuff. But man, she really drove it home, especially in that car scene. Like,
literally.
Yeah. God damn it. Yeah. Yeah, she was just phenomenal in that scene. That car scene in particular, the transition from fun, flirty, manic, I'm going to end this right now. Like it was great.
Amazing. And so having not seen the movie before and not really having that much like, thought about going into the movie or anything or much knowledge of it. Were you aware of that scene or had you seen that scene at all? Interesting. That's so interesting.
Like when it happened, I was just like, oh shit.
Right. I wish I could have had that experience because like that scene, like I've seen like clips of it on YouTube multiple times. Like it's like a pretty popular scene. And, I wish I could have had that experience because.
And when before the scene starts, I'm like, what are you doing? Don't get in that car.
Right.
Nothing good can happen to you getting into this car. It's like, stop it, Tom. But yeah, that car went off the bridge, it's kind of like, fuck.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. One thing that I kind of, one fault that I could find in the movie is that I felt like and I guess given the concept of it, and maybe this is more for spoilers than anything, but it seemed like it played a little fast and loose with time. Like, I didn't get a good handle of how much time had passed. Like, there's a scene...
Like, time passed between points of time?
Any scenes, really.
There was one point where I agree with you on that, and...
Is it where Jason Lee says something?
No, okay. It's at the very beginning, and for whatever reason, and it was probably because I was still dicking around on the computer...
Sure.
The night that him and Penelope Cruz had, I was thinking that was developing over a long period of time.
Oh,
and until I realized, they're still wearing the same goddamn clothes,
right?
But for some reason, I had felt like that montage of events that are happening within the same night was taking place and kind of building a relationship.
I can definitely see that, like having that interpretation of it.
And that's most likely just because I was, half paying attention to my computer as well.
You may have had to have opened your eyes.
I may have happened to abrir mis ojos.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the original movie is actually available on Amazon Prime, so I might check it out.
I'd be curious to check it out.
Yeah. The trivia for that is that apparently, I guess like an anecdote about it is that Tom Cruise was on the phone trying to get the rights to remake that movie or to like the rights to make that movie again. As the credits were rolling on his first viewing of it.
No shit.
Yeah, like that's
apparently the original writer was very impressed with
Vanilla
Sky.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, apparently first of all, like I read, he was honored that someone loved it enough to want to interpret it, and he looked at it as another band doing a cover of song they love.
That's cool.
And I was like, I really like that interpretation of that. So
also, Penelope Cruz is in both movies.
Oh, is she?
Yep, playing the same role.
Oh, no shit.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So she speaks Spanish?
I believe so,
okay.
Yes.
I wouldn't have guessed.
Right. Yeah. And Tom Cruise speaks alien. But But no, the passage of time in the movie, like, I just can't, like, cause we get the car crash and then suddenly we get like his face and everything and it jumps around a lot. And I guess.
Well, I think that's kind of the point there.
It is. But like, when we get to a point where Jason Lee is having like an intense conversation with him, like the culmination of their kind of conflict in the movie comes out, and then like Jason Lee says something to the effect of, all this time you've been holding that back. And I'm like, wait a second, how much time has it been from the party scene to that scene? Like, how much time has literally passed in the movie? And I could not for the life.
Well, you have to figure that his multiple surgeries and healing process probably took the better part of like months and months, if not a year.
And I totally agree, and I totally see that. I just feel like the movie didn't really communicate that.
Maybe not, but
yeah. But
maybe they're asking the audience to be a little smart about the healing process, Matt.
Well, I mean, it's a world with well, I don't want to get into spoilers, so with that, so never mind. But yeah, really, I really enjoyed the movie. I'd be curious to see it again.
I kind of have to see it again because it's one of those movies that I'm sure there's certain things that I've missed, and knowing what actually went on are going to make a lot more sense in the second viewing.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to have to watch it again.
Oh yeah. So should we go into spoilers?
Yeah, we should go into spoilers.
Sweet. So we're going to go into spoilers for Vanilla Sky. I'm going to play a clip probably from the trailer, or maybe that scene with Cameron Diaz, because that was awesome.
4 times, Matt.
When you do it with someone 4 times, that's making a promise.
When you swallow their cum. Yeah. That was funny.
That's gonna be our interpretation of the trailer for the movie.
Open your eye.
Hey, honey, I'll call you later.
When? Don't say soon. I hate it when you say soon.
Soon. You slept with Julie Gianni again, didn't you?
Julie's a friend. Sometimes we sleep together.
You can do whatever you want with your life, but one day you'll know what love truly is. What do I owe this pleasure?
The pleasure of Sophia.
I would spend the rest of my life with that girl, man.
I am not going in there.
Oh yeah. Good night.
My heart going boom, boom, boom. Grab your things, I've come to take you home.
All right, we're spoilers on.
Spoilers on.
Sky.
So 4 times with Cameron Diaz, Tom Cruise, you beast.
Right. Yeah. I mean, really, that just goes to show how tough a life Tom Cruise's character has.
Yeah.
He is a mogul. And he had sex with Cameron Diaz
4 times in one night.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, spoilers.
So
lucid dreams, all that stuff.
The one thing I will say about the scene where Penelope Cruz comes to him at the after the him making an ass of himself at the party, and then him
when
going,
he's laying on the street,
right?
Okay.
And when she comes up and says, "It worked. I fell in love with you." Blah 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 blah. I feel like the intentional distortion in the sky just makes it a little too obvious at that point.
Interesting. See, I didn't pick up on it.
Really?
I really didn't.
It was just very
interesting,
very too vibrant.
Well, at that point, the movie was so scattered in terms of just like things that happen. Like we get like the car crash, and then he's immediately like in this weird, like he's in like, I think it may have been Central Park, I don't know, but he was in like a park with Penelope Cruz, and they were talking about his face and his arm, and then suddenly he's like back to that. So it felt like the movie was jarring and jumping around a little bit in the time. Like kind of the frame story of it is him talking to Kurt Russell. So like I was preoccupied with trying to make the chronology make sense in my head to pay attention to.
See, once the part came where she comes to him in the morning on the street, it became abundantly clear to me that obviously everything is not what it is being shown to you, and for whatever reason, this is not really happening. Okay. And I didn't know why it wasn't happening. I didn't know if this was psychosis on Tom Cruise's character's part, that he's living a new life in his head. Turns out, I mean, he was, but not in the way that I thought it could have been. But I just thought at that point, it just made it a little too obvious that, okay, whatever this isn't real.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. And that's interesting. Like, I thought for a while, because I kind of had a rough idea of like a rough memory of how it ended. I knew that it had something to do with basically like, oh, he's been asleep the whole time or something like that. That's really
Bruce Willis was dead the entire time.
Exactly. So, knowing that, I knew that obviously something was off. I couldn't really piece together what it was, but I thought that, it would have been interesting if it was about, like, one of the theories I had, or one of the memories that I thought might have been the case, was that, like, the facial reconstructive surgery was, like, fucking with his perception.
Right.
Like, that's why, like...
And I thought that might have been one of the reasons, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... Yeah, well, for whatever reason, I knew it wasn't happening as in real life. I just, at that point, didn't know. So there was still a surprise aspect to me when it turns out that he had involved himself into this... longevity program.
Right. Which, the way that comes to light, and we're jumping ahead a little bit, because first let me ask you this. When you say that that signaled to you that something wasn't quite right, or it wasn't real, or whatever, did that dampen the experience?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. I just, at that point, it was a task on my hand. I was sitting here trying to piece together, well, what is really happening? What's going on? Why is this not real life?
Right.
And at what parts of it is. So it didn't ruin the mystery for me. It just made abundantly clear that this is not reality.
Right. Okay.
So no, it didn't ruin anything for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we kind of come to find out that he has, like, I really liked the way that everything was explained kind of at the end. Granted, it kind of runs the risk of over-explaining a little bit, because it goes beat for beat, like, this is exactly what's going on.
It does.
But I love the concept of it, that he basically signed a contract to have them have him, I guess, cryogenically frozen or whatever, to do the lucid dream thing and splice him into that particular point of his life so that he could create his own dreamscape and everything. And I just love the inclusion of, like, showing that, like, okay, well, at this point, you know, Penelope Cruz wasn't really in love with you because she just met you for one night, and so everything else is just a construct of your mind. I thought that was a really cool concept, and really kind of emotional too, because, like, he downs a bunch of pills and stuff. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say you really get the punch in the gut. Just like, he pulled his life together to a certain extent after that horrible night at the club. You know, he took charge of his company again. He got back that, you know, he kept the 7 dwarves at bay and was able to keep controlling power of the company that he was left. But in the end, he just couldn't take the pain of the aftermath of the car crash. And that's rough, you know?
Oh yeah.
And you sympathize too, because how many people could be strong enough to live that life with horrific headaches and horrific disfigurements. You know,
especially when, like, in his case, he's a character who his entire life has been a privileged life that, and, like, I mean, he's fucking Tom Cruise. He's handsome as shit. So, like,
and I wanted, like, the IMDb description kind of made it look like he was kind of a douchebag. I didn't get that vibe. Like, I thought he was, like, I thought he was, so what? He's a young business guy. He's been handed business. He's young and he's enjoying his life. Right. I don't see a whole lot wrong with that. He didn't seem to treat people like assholes or anything like that.
He really did. And, like, that kind of is exemplified by his interaction with Timothy Spall's character.
Yeah.
Like, that I thought was really nice and really cool. But I think an argument can be made that, you know, he kind of, well,
he does treat Cameron Diaz's character kind of badly.
Yeah.
You know, because he is kind of playing with her emotions.
Right.
So I will give that.
Yeah.
I will give that.
And he's, you know, hitting on.
That was pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really shitty, actually.
Yeah. And, like, I love that line where Jason Lee's like, said something. Oh, I love that line. What did he say?
Yeah, that line was so memorable.
You can't have the sweet without the bitter. Or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
Like that, like it really just kind of showed like what that character is. That Tom Cruise's character is like he hasn't had a hardship in his life.
Right.
Like the worst thing that he has going for him right now is
he's got a super hot girl that's obsessed with him.
Cameron Diaz wants to have sex with him. Okay.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
I'll jump on that grenade for you, buddy.
Right. But stay out of that car though.
Yeah.
But that's one of the other things that I feel like the movie didn't communicate as well, is that he was the disfigurement. Like, I get the sense that the disfigurement was supposed to be like a traumatic experience for his personal life, because he's Tom Cruise,
right,
and everything. But I feel like the movie didn't spend enough time communicating that because he's such a good looking guy, he had the privileged life. Because like it's touched on a little bit, because Jason Lee says like, oh, you can have any woman you want or whatever. But I feel like they more explained that he was more privileged and entitled and everything because he had a company handed to him and that he has control.
Yeah, but you kind of have to. I mean, you know that Tom Cruise is a handsome individual, so
right.
you know that we all know, and I hate the fucking term, but he does have that privilege.
Right.
He does have the good-looking privilege, and I fucking hate that stupid nonsense. But
did have to check his privilege.
He did have to check his goddamn privilege.
Yes.
But it's obvious to the viewer that this is a handsome man,
right.
and we all know that, you know, a strikingly handsome person has a lot of fortunate things happen to him in the realm of ladies.
Right. And also, I guess I can retract that a little bit and say that it is kind of touched on a little bit more, because Penelope Cruz isn't necessarily playing, well, I guess she is playing kind of hard to get, but it's like, this is his first experience, like not having
a girl just, you know, spread her legs immediately because he's a rich playboy philanthropist.
Exactly.
I don't know, he's a philanthropist.
I don't know either.
He's rich. I'm sure he is involved in some philanthropy. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
You know what he doesn't do is he doesn't donate to the Obsessive Viewer, which you can do at patreon.com.
He does not. He should rate you on iTunes.
He should. Yes. But anyway, I mean, and like, I want to be clear. Like, I'm bringing these not up as issues that are damaging to the movie per se, because I still really enjoyed the movie. It's just there were some things that didn't connect as strongly as I would have liked them to.
No, I can dig it.
Mm-hmm.
If I had a minor gripe, it's I did really enjoy the twist that he has been cryogenically frozen, kind of in time, pretty much, and living this life in his mind. My one complaint, and maybe it's a complaint that will no longer be a complaint if on a couple of extra viewings where I notice things, but I felt like it was a very out of left field answer that I wouldn't have been able to be led there throughout the clues in the movie.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there was things that I missed on the first viewing.
I honestly don't think so. Because
they did talk about Benny the dog like on 3 different occasions about the cryogenically frozen dog, but
they didn't.
That's kind of a jump,
right? Because they didn't bring up the lucid dreaming.
No,
until
the very end,
until the reveal,
right?
So like I think that it kind of sets the viewer up to play that like guess the mystery game, but it purposely leaves out enough information that I don't think you could fucking guess.
No, I like unless you fucking wrote the film,
right?
But yeah, that's a minor gripe on my part because I do like to kind of pick up the crumbs of mystery and kind of try to solve it before the movie's end, and it's just there's no way I could have solved that unless I missed something,
right?
But that's a minor gripe because I did really enjoy the payoff at the end and.
As far as the payoff goes, one thing that I do kind of wish, well, I'm not going to say I wish that it ended this way, but...
Yeah, Star Wars fan.
A way that, right. Really, they shouldn't have had any women in the movie. But says this white male.
But they're putting another black guy in it?
Oh, God. But anyway, something that I think would have been more... that would have enhanced my enjoyment of the movie more, which it sacrifices the somewhat happy ending for the character. But I wish that in the roof scene where Kurt Russell is explaining to him like this is crazy, you can't jump off the building because you'll die, like they're crazy and everything. Like, I wish that they would have kept that ambiguous. Like, I wanted
to make it so kind of like Inception, like which
sort of, yeah. Like, he jumps off the building and then that's it.
Right.
And then you don't know if it's real or not. But on the other hand, when that one guy tells him like, "Oh, what are your kids' names?" and it's just like,
I love that
shutdown. Yeah. I was like, okay, that is awesome.
I don't know that if you can't keep it really ambiguous and still get the very in-depth explanation.
Right.
So you got to give up one, and I kind of I like the way I like the explanation, like
right.
So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I'm all for ambiguity and in the films. I love those types of films, but I don't think it works for every film.
Right. I agree. I think I'm just more partial to the ambiguous ending. But I mean, this ending worked well. Let me ask you this. The last line of the movie where you hear someone say, "Open your eyes." Could you tell if that was Penelope Cruz's voice?
I couldn't tell.
Because I played it back a couple of times and then I kind of thought like it would be, I don't know if this is the intention or not, but like I kind of wish that it was like, again, ambiguous or whatever, because it would be kind of cool if it's like, was that Cameron Diaz's voice or Penelope Cruz's voice?
I did have that same thought process in my head the first time that he wakes up and it's Cameron Diaz instead of Penelope Cruz. I felt like I was hearing Penelope Cruz's voice coming out of Cameron Diaz.
Oh, interesting. See,
I don't know if that was just me confused about the scene or if I was actually hearing that. And if I was hearing that, I love that effect. Or maybe that was just my own subconscious fucking with me.
Maybe it could be.
Yeah,
it could have been. Yeah. Well, I hate to break it to you, but
this isn't really happening.
It's not really happening.
No. In fact, I love those scenes in particular where it became Penelope Cruz or Cameron Diaz, because
highlighted the movie for
absolutely.
me, aside from the car scene.
Because those scenes were played out fantastically. Tom Cruise did an amazing job reacting to it. Cameron Diaz did a great job of just playing the "what the fuck he done?"
Right.
So yeah, those scenes were fantastic.
And the scene where he wakes up and after his face has been reconstructed and everything, and he turns on the light and it's all fucked up again, and like his scream, like that was amazing.
That was perfect.
Like just in those moments, because there's like a couple of those moments where he's kind of freaking out a little bit about that. Just that really helped the kind of main plot of the movie. It's like, a dream state. Like,
right.
It really added more. I'm sure on repeat viewings it would add more context to that, because that it's a dream and everything.
I do know this. Yeah. If anything ever goes bad in my life, I'm just going to start running down the street yelling tech support.
Oh, yeah.
And just get that shit taken care of quick.
Right. Yeah, let me know how that works out.
Tech support!
Oh, that's great.
I did love, like, I had a hearty laugh the part where he's having the discussion with the doctors and they bring out the prosthetic face and they're giving all the explanations. Well, this and this and this. And he goes, "Oh, I'm glad it's all that, because here I thought it was a fucking mask."
That was amazing.
I was dying.
That was really, really good. Yeah. So, anything else really
no, I don't
talk about? I think we might be good. Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention, because I know that Robert, the Patreon subscriber that suggested the review, he is a huge fan of the music in the movie. And like, there's both a good mixture of needle drops in the movie, of licensed music.
Well, that's kind of Cameron Crowe anyway.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. Yeah, and then also some good like scores as well, like scored music. Did you pick up on like did it affect you in any way?
Not. I took it as a Cameron Crowe movie. I expect that of Cameron Crowe. So while I find it enjoyable, I wouldn't say that it like had a great impact on me.
Sure.
Most of Cameron Crowe's films have a very distinct score of hits from the past and kind of rock kind of stuff. Right. So it was great, but it wasn't anything out of the ordinary that I didn't expect.
That's fair. Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit myself.
Yeah.
So I guess that'll be our review of Vanilla Sky. Hopefully it was satisfactory.
I would say thank you to Robert.
Yes.
Because now I've got to watch.
You're referring to him and not yourself.
Yes, that would be awfully vain of me. Yes, the Patreon subscriber, Robert.
Yes.
Because I had not seen this movie.
Yeah.
It gave me a reason to watch it, so.
Yeah. And not to feed your ego or anything, but he did.
Quit feeding.
I did say like, oh yeah, this will actually work out well because I can get someone to like cover for Tiny because like Tiny and I are doing the Castle Rock stuff on Tower Junkies, and then I was like, so I'll get either like I'll get a guest on or whatever, and then he was like, oh, I'm kind of secretly hoping for Fekkes because he and I like phrased it a interesting way because he said that his whenever you're on your thoughts on movies kind of seem to line up with his
enough
fairly frequently. So yeah.
Sounds like you got good taste in movies then.
He does. He said I always love his thoughts. They're pretty close to my thoughts on most movies. So yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yep. So that'll do it for our review of Vanilla Sky, and hope you guys enjoyed it. I forgot to mention at the start of it that it is currently, as of this recording, available on HBO Go. So if you're listening at this point, you already know that it's you've listened to the spoiler section. So
it's still a movie worth watching.
Totally. All right, well, that will do it, and then I think we're gonna wrap it up with probably a quick potpourri section because I gotta get to bed soon. We'll do like one section of potpourri per person here.
Per person.
So for those first-time listeners, potpourri is a section of the podcast where we talk about, we kind of wind down and talk about something we've watched or something we're looking forward to. Just whatever we want as long as it smells good. And also, now that if you've skipped over to the potpourri section, Vanilla Sky is available on HBO Go. But Fekkes, potpourri, do you have any? I don't want to.
Here it comes.
I don't want to be accused of pulling your strings here.
Okay.
Or being like a puppet master or something. But
I'll talk about what I want. I'm not your puppet. No puppet. No puppet. This is a Trump reference. He said it in the debate.
Shit, that's right. Yeah. Oh god, I'm gonna have to cut out that long pause. So I don't look like an idiot. Jesus.
No Trump. But I can see where you make that mistake. Boom! I'm joking. I don't really think that. I don't really think that. It was funny.
I am totally cutting this around. Fekkes, what are you bringing up?
Okay, so I went to go see the Happytime Murders, starring Melissa McCarthy and various voices for puppets. Actually, Maya Rudolph's in it too.
Oh, nice.
So, and I like Maya Rudolph. So this is one of those. If you don't know, the Happytime Murders is a movie kind of set in the vein of The Muppets or Sesame Street, with humans interacting with puppet characters. Kind of think of like a puppet version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, if you will. Humans and puppets coexisting in a world where each are acknowledging the fact that both are either humans or puppets.
Okay.
And in this world, it is following a particular puppet that is a private investigator, and he gets involved into a series of murder investigations. This particular puppet used to be a police officer, and his partner was Melissa McCarthy. So they team up in the movie to kind of solve these murders.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be funny, and I guess it is sometimes, but it should have been a lot funnier than it was. Like, there was a couple moments here and there that I laughed out loud, but just nothing that just had me in stitches. Like, call me juvenile, but I actually absolutely love Sausage Party. I think it's a fun movie. I think it's hilarious. It's toilet humor, and I think it's funny. I think that they try that same concept here, and while it works at times, they have a good couple of concepts with like sexual scenarios and puppets.
Okay.
Not all of them hit on, hit on high notes. Like a lot of it fell flat for me. I would not have seen this movie had I not been an A-list subscriber.
Nice.
But I probably would have waited till it was on like Netflix or Redbox. But I guess if you got an hour and a half to kill when this comes out on DVD or something, it's worth a watch. Some people found it more entertaining than I did. It was okay.
I think the consensus is that it's pretty garbage.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
Oh, Elizabeth Banks was in it too.
Oh,
yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Also,
doesn't add much to the movie, but she's in it.
Sure. Yeah. Another list that I have on Letterboxd is the movies I watch with A-list, and I'm tracking like the amount and stuff and everything.
Nice.
So just letting you know.
Just another list.
Letterboxd.com/obsessiveviewer. But yeah, I've kind of toyed with the idea of seeing this movie, but I don't
like
know
if you have an extra A-list and an afternoon to spare. I mean, it's an hour and a half.
See, and I think that I would have seen it had like it came out at an inopportune time, because I was like this past weekend I was like, I could see Alpha, the Happytime Murders, or I can see fucking 2001 again.
Yeah, you really should have gone with Happytime Murders.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure that the
movie of the year.
But yeah, well, that's a bummer, I guess.
You know what? It could have been better if it actually had musical numbers.
It doesn't have any musical numbers. Interesting.
And you kind of think that goes hand in hand with like Sesame Street or the Muppets,
right?
But it just it was a missed opportunity there. So
wow, it was directed by Jim Henson's son.
I do know that. Yeah.
And apparently Sesame Street either threatened a lawsuit.
No, they sued.
Okay,
like the story behind this is that there was an advertising tag on one of the trailers and posters that said,
no Sesame, all street.
Yeah, something to that effect. And so they sued, and it got thrown out because it's stupid.
Right.
But, it's, I mean, I get I think it was funny tag.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Jim Henson's son is the director. And so I can appreciate that aspect of it, but, it's just, could have been better. The concept had a lot of potential for someone like me, because I would have dug something in that vein.
R-rated comedy.
Right. Stupid puppets. Sausage Party.
Yeah.
So, that's all you need to say for me. So, but yeah, it's just, whatever. I'm not out anything.
Mm-hmm. And you're a normal person, so you don't track your A-list stuff or anything, right?
I do not.
Oh, okay. You got Letterboxd. But,
yeah.
So, for my potpourri, I've watched a lot, recently. Like, I would have to go back and double check and everything, but I can say with almost total confidence that July and August have been two of the highest, like, movie watching months I've had since I can remember, really, in terms of like tracking my movies. Certainly the two, like the most consecutive, like the most, the most consistent over 2 consecutive months of movie watching, or like most high. I've watched a lot of movies.
I get what you're saying. Yes.
So,
not movies match watched last 2 months.
So let's see. I have a bunch that I could bring up. But you know what? I'm going to throw out this one. Have you seen AI, artificial intelligence?
Years ago.
Same here, except that I saw it again like 2 nights ago. And the movie's interesting just from a production standpoint, because
Kubrick and Spielberg.
Exactly. So like this year, like I've been, and this is going to be kind of a fun kind of experiment or maybe not experiment, just a fun little weird game that I want to play. with myself.
Yeah.
But
keep going, Matt.
Yeah. Let me tell you about how I'm going to play with myself. No, but
Cooper, quit playing with yourself.
This year so far, because on Letterboxd, not to belabor the point, but I have the pro membership where I can have stats and everything, and one of the stats is like most watched like actors and most watched directors and like like the whole crew and everything. So like with actors, it's kind of skewed because I rewatched all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, so like that's basically all the actors are just all Marvel Cinematic Universe actors. But directors, I've watched 9 Spielberg movies and 5 Hitchcock movies.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think my goal, or this little like game that I'm gonna be a part of solo for the rest of the year is I kind of want to make a point to watch more Spielberg and more Hitchcock and see like who wins at the end of the year is the most movies
the most watched movies.
Yeah.
I've been actually thinking about doing that exact same thing with Scorsese.
Oh, nice. Oh, I need to revisit a lot of Scorsese and kind of refresh myself on his work. But also, like, all his movies are like super long, though. It seems
they are. This you got to dedicate time.
Yeah, but yeah. So I watched AI. So the production history is interesting because Kubrick wanted to make it for years, and I think I heard somewhere that like one of the stumbling points is that he wanted to cast an actual robot in the role. That
is about the most Kubrick thing that I've ever heard.
But the technology just wasn't there.
He'd still berate it and make it do 99 takes.
Right. So I should have read up on the production history and everything, but basically after he passed away, Steven Spielberg made it.
It was at Kubrick's request.
Oh, was it? Okay,
was.
Nice. So Spielberg made it. And this is an interesting movie because it's got Haley Joel Osment. It's a movie about basically Haley Joel Osment is the first AI that's been created that has the capacity for love. And it's the really interesting thing is that there's a series of words that the mother that owns the robot has to say to the AI, to the robot. It's like a one-time thing. Like there's a big point made. Cat hair in my mouth. There's a big point made that like, okay, they have this child. So like the couple have experienced a tragedy in their life. So they have this child that they got from the company that the dad works for. And in order to kind of activate it, once they make the decision that they're going to keep it, she has to say these words to imprint on him. She might scratch you up. To imprint on him so that he will like have the capacity to love, basically activate love mode. And it's irreversible. There's no way to counter it. So when she does that, like it's a very touching moment because he's like, I love you, mommy. And it's very like Haley Joel Osment is amazing in this movie.
I do remember him knocking it out of the park.
Oh yeah. It's an incredible performance. But shockingly enough, there are some issues that I have with it, that I feel like Spielberg almost dropped the ball a little bit. Cause it's a pretty lengthy movie. It's like 2.5 hours. It spans a long time frame. And the first hour of the movie is all about the home life with the parents and the robot. Which is interesting. It's an interesting dynamic and interesting, plotting and everything. However, Spielberg did a very un-Spielberg thing in that he, from my taste, he did not really develop the family unit that much. Like they introduced that the family, that the couple has this tragic thing that they have.
Son's in coma, right?
Yeah. And they don't even really communicate that all that well. Like I thought that the kid was dead. But then again, I guess it did make sense that he's in a coma, judging from how they showed it. But anyway, yeah. So and then the kid wakes from the coma, and that causes some conflict.
Right.
There. But like, I just wish that they spent more time developing like the reason that they have David, Haley Joel Osment's character, because I feel like it would have resonated a lot more when the plot turns to where he's going to become a real boy. But other than that, like it was I don't know. He didn't establish the mother and father characters well enough for me. And also, like, it just plays with some different ideas for, like, the world. Like, the world building is really interesting, but I feel like it plays with some ideas that don't really have, like, a lot. He doesn't really develop them a lot further. It touches on some ideas that doesn't really do much for me in the long run.
There's a lot of it's been a while since I've seen, but there are a lot of themes that play in that movie.
Totally. Oh yeah. And it's like, I mean, it's fine. It's overall, I thought, like, visually it's impressive. The vision of the future is impressive.
I do.
Haley Joel Osment's performance is amazing.
I remember when me and my brother were watching that years ago, and they're at the point where Haley Joel Osment and Jude Law's character are at the like robot destruction zone, like with like kind of like the demolition derbies with robots, and my brother Peter was like, "God damn it! Even in the future, hillbillies are fucking hillbillies."
Oh, that's awesome! That's awesome. And yeah, he's right. But yeah, and it like, and Jude Law was great in it too. I thought he did a good job. But also I feel like he was just kind of there. He didn't have much in terms of characterization, really. Like there's one thing that happens to him early in the movie that does not get paid off. Or
is that the part where the husband comes and murders? Yeah. So they don't resolve any of that ever?
Not that I remember.
Because like I said, it's been years. I do remember that, but yeah, I feel like that's one of those things that you should probably readdress at some point. Right. Like this man's trying to frame a robot for murder.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
But it's not paid off, and then I respect what kind of happened, like the last half hour is all this interesting kind of science fiction thing, and I appreciate it, and I think it's interesting and compelling, but like, I don't know, it did have a lot of heart, because it played into like, David's kind of dreams for what he wants to be and what he wants to become. And like that resonated with me a little bit, but it kind of just went off, like it kind of went into waded into the deep end is what I'd say.
Like at the end?
Yeah.
Because it does doesn't he get frozen and it gets found by hyper advanced AI beings?
Not exactly. It's like legit aliens.
I disagree, because I had this debate with people. I think those are ultra high-end AI. I don't think they're alien.
It could be either way, honestly, because like, and now that you say that, I can see that being the case, because it's just the way the dialogue is. It's speaking as though it's like, they're visitors from another planet. Like, that's the way that I interpreted it.
See, but
it makes sense that if they're,
I think me and Peter had this debate the first time we saw it, and then I went to my art teacher, whom I always talked film with in high school, and I was like, "Hey, look, those are hyper advanced AI," and my art teacher, Mr. Larry Hurt, was yes, those are AI. Humans are gone from the earth, and the only thing left is the remnants of artificial intelligence, which continues to evolve beyond what they were built as.
Wow. Larry Hurt.
He has since passed.
It's interesting, because actually I was having lunch or something with Ray, and like, because his girlfriend went to Penn Davis.
That's right.
Yeah, and that came up in conversation, so that just kind of threw me out a little bit.
Interesting.
But yeah, no relation. In case anyone was wondering.
Nobody was wondering.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So yeah, we actually kind of got into spoilers. That's fun. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting. It was it was an interesting movie and I enjoyed it. However, I will always, like, I don't think I can really watch, or I don't know, I don't think I can really think of the movie without wondering, like, I wonder what Kubrick's vision of this would have been, like, what he would have done.
Well, what the movie became was quite clearly a Spielberg movie.
Yeah.
And it would have been a completely different movie had Kubrick been able to finish it.
Absolutely.
So, it was more of a passion to a friend thing for Spielberg. Mm-hmm. So it got made. It was Kubrick's last parting piece of art before he left the earth. So it's
right. And like, I just, I don't know. I just kind of, I will always wonder that just, and the fact that it is, you know, Spielberg taking the reins and it's a Spielberg movie. There are some like visual, like kind of ideas that are explored that feel like a Kubrick kind of thing. But for the most part, it is a Spielberg movie, which is why I was disappointed in the fact that the parent characters aren't really that fleshed out, or like the family life isn't.
Yeah, because he's always,
that's his bread and butter,
right?
Really.
Yeah, especially, you know, fatherly relationships.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah, so that's AI. That's my potpourri. Check me out on Letterboxd though, because I have been writing a lot of reviews on there. So yeah. And, yeah, you know, I mean, Letterboxd is pretty cool.
I hear it's good stuff. Yeah, good stuff.
Mike's a huge fan of it, so.
Oh, well, if Mike's a huge fan.
I know, right? Yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and get you signed up.
No, that's good. Yeah,
that's fine.
Why don't you pay my subscription fees too?
It's $19 a year. I think I owe you that for one of the Star Wars movies anyway. So, yeah, so anyway, that's our episode. Yeah, so any parting thoughts before we go?
I can't wait to see The Predator.
Oh, nice. I'm actually somewhat looking forward to it. Yeah.
Shane Black and Predator.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll see that, and then I'll have to have you on. We'll do a review of it.
Okay. I'm super excited.
Yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic. Something about Keegan-Michael Key's delivery of the joke in the trailer. Hey, if your mom's like vagina would be like rated E forever. It was a
I love that joke. It was a video game. You rate E forever. It was a good joke.
It's like, part of me is like, okay, it's all in the delivery because he commits to that joke.
He does.
And it's so funny to hear him deliver it that way. And the other part of me is like, but man, that's kind of rough. Like it doesn't have the refine, like it feels.
Yeah, because the first Predator was extremely refined.
And that's the other part of it.
This will turn you into a goddamn sexual tyrannosaur. Yeah, super refined.
And that's another thing, is it also feels like, you know,
Arnold Schwarzenegger threw a knife at somebody and told him to stick around in the first movie, Matt. That's not refined comedy.
Okay, well, first of all, we have very different definitions. But yeah, also doesn't, is it Jesse, am I thinking of the right thing? Is it Jesse Ventura that says pain don't hurt?
Yeah, no, he doesn't. I don't got time to bleed.
Oh, that's what it is. Doesn't someone say pain don't hurt, or is that another movie?
It doesn't sound like, I don't think so.
I'm gonna Google that real quick.
I ain't got time to bleed. You got time to duck?
Oh, no, that's from Roadhouse.
Yeah. Never seen Roadhouse.
I've never seen Roadhouse either, so why did I have
Roadhouse?
Roadhouse. All right, so look forward to our review in sometime soon of The Predator. And then also I'll be reviewing, I think next week, I'll be reviewing The Meg and Searching with Kirsten. So
is Searching out?
This weekend.
Okay.
Yep. Very much looking forward to that.
I wasn't. Now I am.
Oh, really?
Yeah, reviews have got me.
Interesting. The trailers have kind of. I'm a huge John Cho fan.
I love John Cho too, but they had that horror movie that came out a couple years ago that
Unfriended?
was to me it just looked like kind of like a more refined Unfriended, which didn't interest me. But now that it's like getting such great reviews, I'm like, well, I gotta go see it.
You know, honestly, Unfriended Dark Web, the new one, it actually was pretty good.
That is the opposite of what I read.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you can check out my review on Letterboxd.
On Letterboxd? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I was just very pleasantly surprised.
Fair enough.
And that was one of those movies that's like, if I didn't have A-list, I would not have seen.
Right.
So yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. Not going to make my top 10, but it was good.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so
All right.
anyway, yeah, that'll do it. I have to pee and go to bed. So
I got to go home and have a bourbon and go to bed. So,
nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Fekkes, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And yeah, hopefully at some point I can get your Interstellar Blu-ray so I can watch it.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's been 4 years. I need to shit on it all over again.
Good.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for listening. And once again, go to shocktoberinirvington.com and buy tickets and come to Shocktober in Irvington, please. And yeah, and also follow me on Letterboxd, all this stuff. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or anywhere else podcasts are found. If you'd like to support the show, the best and easiest way is to leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. More ratings and reviews means it'll be easier for people to find the show in the highly competitive film and TV podcast genre. It also provides us with valuable feedback on the show. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a one-time PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate or become a patron at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer for recurring donations with different reward tiers. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, notebooks, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can also buy other great TeePublic designs in our store, and we'll get a small commission on the sale. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP, Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes, and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. We love to hear from you guys. You can contact us by emailing podcast@obsessiveviewer.com or by tweeting us at obsessiveviewer, at obsessivetiny, and at IamMikeWhite. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer, where you can take part in discussions and polls between episodes. For more podcast content, check out Anthology, Matt's solo podcast, where he's reviewing The Twilight Zone as a first-time viewer and exploring other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows. You can find Anthology at anthologypod.com and anywhere podcasts are found. For book lovers, you can check out our sister site at obsessivebooknerd.com for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the app of your choice. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!